Hollywood is not always as glamorous as it seems. Stories of tension that never make it to the front pages lie behind the red carpet grins, the bright lights, and the laughter. Tim Allen, the man who made millions of people laugh with his quick wit and fantastical characters, once confronted someone who completely tested his patience. What started out as a simple business relationship turned into something far more bitter. Allen never forgot the encounter. While the gags on television were well received by viewers, a storm was raging backstage that few people had ever expected. Early years and professional life. Tim Allen's journey to stardom is anything but ordinary. On June 13, 1953, Timothy Allen Allen was born in Denver, Colorado. There were 6 siblings, including him. His father, Gerald, was a real estate agent, while his mother, Martha, worked in community service. When Tim's father died in a drunk driving automobile accident when he was 11 years old, his life took a difficult turn. His mother remarried 2 years later and moved the family to Birmingham, Michigan, where she combined her 6 children with the 3 of her new husband. This meant that Tim had to start over at a new school, where he instantly went from being popular to an outsider. He became passionate about music, theater, and even classical piano at Birmingham's Seaholm High School, before moving to Western Michigan University, where he worked at the student radio station and earned his communications degree in 1976. He first attended Central Michigan University. His early exposure to comedy and performing set the stage for what would eventually be a lengthy career in entertainment. When a buddy of Tim's encouraged him to perform on stage at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, a local club, in 1975, Tim's comedic career officially began. He was recognized for his talent and quickly found himself making appearances on commercials and TV shows in the Detroit area. But his life was not without its challenges. He was incarcerated in the early 1980s. After being freed, he stepped up his comedic career and eventually moved to Los Angeles, where he appeared on late-night TV shows and performed at the Comedic Store. By the late 1980s, Tim Allen was becoming more and more popular, and he got the part that made him famous in 1991, Tim the Toolman Taylor on Home Renovation. Allen earned $1.25 million per episode during the final season of the sitcom, which was a tremendous hit in the 1990s and made him one of the most paid actors on television. At the same time, he voiced the famous Buzz Lightyear in Pixar's Toy Story, 1995, and starred in box office smashes including The Santa Claus 1994. By 1999, he was not only a TV personality, but also a star of big-budget films like Galaxy Quest. Allen combined family comedy, Christmas with the Cranks, and The Shaggy Dog with more ambitious projects during the 2000s. In 2010, he even tried his hand at directing Crazy on the Outside. Additionally, he provided his voice for the widely used Michigan Pure Michigan tourism promotion. In 2011, Allen returned to comedy life as conservative father of women, Mike Baxter on Last Man Standing. It lasted for a long time before terminating in 2021 after moving from ABC to Fox. Allen continued to voice Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story 3 2010, Toy Story 4 2019, and even promised to return for Toy Story 5, in order to keep him alive in the meantime. He most recently returned to the role of Santa Claus in the Disney Plus series, The Santa Clauses, and reunited with co-star Richard Kahn from Home Improvement for additional authority on the History Channel. Additionally, in 2025, Allen assumed he plays a widowed owner of a car repair company in another sitcom, Shifting Gears, where he learns to get back in touch with his family. Tim Allen's career serves as an example of how much perseverance, humor, and second chances can get you from stand-up comedy venues to sitcom stardom. His family and marriages. Like his work, Tim Allen's personal life has been filled with highs and lows. Despite his difficult journey, family has always been the center of his life since he was born into the Episcopalian faith. Tim married his first wife, Laura Dial, in April 1984. The two managed the stress of marriage, raising a family, and the hectic life of a budding performer, while Allen's stand-up career was just getting started. In December 1989, they were blessed with a daughter named Catherine. Tim's outlook changed after becoming a father. However, their relationship quickly suffered as a result of the demands of notoriety, long hours spent on home renovation, and the glitz of Hollywood. Tim and Laura split up in 1999, and after years of attempting to work things out, they got divorced in 2003. After his first marriage ended, Allen spent some time focusing on his career and himself, but love returned. He began dating Jane Hodgeduke an actress, and their relationship developed gradually over time. Before getting married, they dated for about 5 years. On October 7, 2006, Tim married Jane in a modest private ceremony in Grand Lake, Colorado. Alan handled this new phase of his life very differently than he did with his first marriage, as evidenced by the small ceremony attended by just close family and friends. 3 years from now, Elizabeth, Tim and Jane's daughter, was born in March 2009. Tim had the chance to be a more patient and sensitive parent because he was older when he became a father for the second time. By that time, his career was well established, and he could enjoy fatherhood with more peace than he had experienced in his early years. These days, Tim talks a lot about how much he values his family. In interviews, he has stated that getting married and starting a family has helped him stay grounded and remind him of what matters more than fame and glory. Despite the difficulties of his first marriage, his second marriage has been described as stable and encouraging, and Jane is often spotted at public events by his side. In many ways, Alan's family history mirrors his own larger life, which is full of setbacks, second chances, and personal growth. The man the public knows, both on and off television, is still shaped by his experiences as a husband and father. The legal issues and redemption of Tim Allen. Tim Allen's path to stardom wasn't a straight line. He went through some really difficult and dark periods that may have terminated his career too soon, before he became the well-known figure we know today. The events of October 2, 1978, had a profound impact on Tim Allen. At Kalamazoo Battle Creek International Airport in Michigan, he was taken into custody for having more than 650 grams of cocaine. That amount was then really serious. He may have been imprisoned for life for it. Allen complied with authorities after being threatened with such a harsh penalty. In exchange for a reduced sentence, he provided them with the names of other vendors. He was sentenced to 3 to 7 years in jail instead of life. Tim was incarcerated at the Federal Correctional Institution in Sandstone, Minnesota, for just over 2 years. The date of his parolement was June 12, 1981. Looking back, Allen has stated that his time in prison marked a sea change in his life. He was humbled by the experience and had to reconsider his decisions. It wasn't easy, but it led him to humor, and in a way, it prepared him for the career he would eventually build. However, Allen's encounters with the police did not end here. Years later, in Birmingham, Michigan, Allen was caught again for driving under the influence in 1998. He had 0 blood alcohol content, 15%, nearly double the maximum limit set by the state. For someone who had already achieved stardom, the arrest was a public disgrace. In addition to giving him a year of probation, the judge ordered him to participate in an alcohol consumption treatment program. This was another wake-up call for Allen. By then, he was already well known and prosperous, and he had already started to change his ways. However, this encounter made him realize how simple it was to revert to the old habits. Tim Allen managed to turn his life around in spite of these setbacks. He has often said that such mistakes helped shape who he is now, and taught him valuable lessons about accountability, self-control, and second chances. The majority of admirers view his life as proof that even celebrities can make mistakes. They are fallible, they make mistakes. However, they get back up with a positive attitude. Allen's career might have terminated as a result of his legal troubles. Rather, they were a part of his story of salvation. They prove that it's possible to start again and create something greater, even in the most dire circumstances. Tim Allen's charitable work and political involvement. Despite his tendency to surprise people with his self-definition, Tim Allen has never been reluctant to voice his opinions. In terms of politics, he describes himself as emotionally liberal and fiscally conservative. That basically means that he is frugal with money and government spending. He does, however, support people's freedom to live their lives as they see fit. In the Hollywood industry, where most celebrities lean liberal, Allen has always stood out for being different. Over the years, he has made remarks regarding his political views that have occasionally caused controversy among his followers. However, Allen made headlines once more in 2021, amid one of the biggest surprises in recent American history. He snapped at what had happened after the U.S. Capitol was stormed on January 6. He claimed that he did not support the rioters or their actions, calling the encounter horrible, embarrassing, and shameful. Given how the situation played out, he even went so far as to imply that the group undoubtedly had some kind of inside help. Additionally, Allen admitted that the incident created a new kind of issue for conservatives like himself. He clarified that the reputation of a whole political identity had been damaged by the acts of a few violent people, making many people embarrassed to identify as conservative. His remarks showed that, although being a conservative, Allen is not naively supporting every political action. Tim Allen has devoted time and energy to causes close to his heart, outside of politics. Homelessness is one of these giants. Allen has made an effort to help people in need get back on their feet through his humanitarian activities. He has supported initiatives and groups that try to reduce homelessness and create better prospects for those who are homeless. For Allen, generosity is a vital way to use his wealth and notoriety to make a difference. Tim Allen is intriguing, since he doesn't cleanly fall into any one category. He is neither a Hollywood star who follows all the latest trends in Hollywood, nor someone who keeps his opinions to himself. Instead, he tries to balance it with empathy for others, and is honest where he is, even if it is unpopular. Allen continues to show that he is more than just a comedian and actor, whether it is through his political activism or charitable endeavors. Additionally, he wants to do some good. Tim Allen's love of automobiles. Tim Allen is passionate about cars in addition to comedy and acting. In this respect, he is not a dabbler. He has spent decades learning about vehicles and racing them, making him an ardent automotive enthusiast. Second only to his work on camera, his love of cars has played a big role in his life. Allen even took his passion to the racetrack in the 1990s. In important races, he shared driving responsibilities in a co-owned car while competing for C-Line and endurance racing. The 24 Hours of Daytona, a difficult test of man and machine, was one of his most well-known races. It proved that his love of automobiles extended beyond simply owning them. He also wanted to experience the thrill of driving in a real race. Allen's collection of cars is amazing to say the least, and he normally spends his free time admiring them. Not much more than a glorified dream garage. The ancient paint factory in Southern California is where he stores his prized cars. Over the years, he has acquired some incredibly rare and beautiful machines for his collection. His most famous vehicles as of 2022 are a 1966 Ferrari 330 GTC, a 1965 Shelby Cobra, and a 1956 Ford F-100 that was custom built by McLaren. These cars are special in and of themselves. For example, the Ford F-100 combines high-performance improvements with historic American truck styling. An iconic piece of racing history, the Shelby Cobra is treasured by enthusiasts and collectors worldwide. Furthermore, the Ferrari 330 GTC is the pinnacle of Italian craftsmanship. According to other estimates, Allen's Ferrari alone is worth more than $3 million. It demonstrates that his collection is as valuable and rare as it can be, even though there is no hard proof of that value, and most automobiles of the same model sell for less. For Tim Allen, cars are more than just a hobby. They are a deep-seated passion. His love for cars has been a sort of defining characteristic of who he is, whether he is rebuilding them, competing with them, or just enjoying the design of a well-made engine. He shares it with the general public as well. His frequent mention of his cars in interviews suggests that this is more than just a celebrity pastime. Rather, it is a deep-seated love, source of humor, criticism, and limitations. In recent years, Tim Allen has been vocal against what he sees as growing restrictions on comedians, especially through cancel culture, political correctness, and what he refers to as the thought police. He admits that occasionally he even offers the audience a sort of heads up. I may use the following words. When I say them, I mean this. Avoid making the thought police sick. Some, on the other hand, contend that cultural shifts are a normal part of civilization, and that things that were considered acceptable decades ago may or should no longer be considered acceptable now. Instead than merely rejecting changing norms in large quantities, they support comedians learning to change without losing their voice. Jonathan Taylor Thomas's disagreement. The relationship between Tim Allen and his on-screen son, Jonathan Taylor Thomas JTT, who played Randy Taylor on Home Improvement from 1991 to 1998, is one of the most talked about conflicts in Allen's career. For years, their on-camera relationship appeared to be flawless, but it began to break behind the scenes. During the final 8th season of Home Improvement in 1998, JTT announced to the world that he was leaving the program to go to college, escape the demands of being a teenage heartthrob, and find balance in his life. At first, Allen publicly praised Thomas's choice. Later on, though, Allen started to feel puzzled and frustrated. When Allen learned that Thomas had quit the show and had immediately begun pursuing film jobs, the transfer was made. Allen was duped. Why jump into new acting roles right away if JTT's sole reason for leaving was education? In a 1999 interview with TV Guide that was cited by the New York Post, Allen said he was a little confused as to why he didn't want to do this complete year, and was baffled by Thomas's statement of one reason, but his actions. Otherwise, Allen publicly expressed his perplexity, and said that he thought Thomas was a little annoyed with him for it. Thomas's absence from the final episode of Home Improvement in 1999 was another point of contention. Allen had anticipated or hoped that JTT would stop by, but he didn't. That certainly felt like a betrayal to Allen. Co-stars have also claimed that there were negative sentiments about the leaving and how it was handled behind the scenes. But after time, the bitterness subsided. Allen and Thomas were reunited on Last Man Standing in 2013. JTT directed a few episodes and appeared as a guest star in several others. Allen was more tactful in his remarks about Thomas in later interviews after the reunion, acknowledging that he has always been an excellent actor and saying that after Home Improvement, Thomas pursued other passions like directing. Thomas also stated in interviews that he still liked his former cast and enjoyed his time working on House Improvements. However, their narrative is not one of complete reconciliation. Comments and public statements serve as reminders of their suffering and resentment. For instance, JTT's television mother Patricia Richardson publicly contradicted Allen's claim that the entire cast was on board for a home renovation resurrection by revealing that neither she nor Thomas had ever been contacted. Additionally, Allen has stated that JTT did visit the set of the new series, Shifting Gears, and that reunions are still possible, expressing his continued hope for the relationship to be repaired. The JTT-Allen rivalry was more about broken expectations and misunderstandings than it was about interpersonal conflicts and artistic disagreements. When JTT left the show for school, the seeds of discontent were sown. Allen, however, didn't believe it was that easy. The distance between them grew as a result of their poorly executed cameo and public outburst of annoyance. The shadow of that disparity still exists, even if they have made some progress in patching things up over the years, with time and new initiatives. Patricia Richardson and Tim Allen. For 8 seasons of Home Improvement, Patricia Richardson played Tim Allen's on-screen wife, Jill Taylor. In reality, things were less than the idyllic marriage that fans saw on television. Richardson and Allen have been publicly at odds in recent years over issues involving private planes and reunion rumors. Allen's public presentation that the entire group was in favor of a reunion or home renovation project was one major point of contention. Richardson disputes her claim that Allen never discussed the subject with her or her on-camera son, Jonathan Taylor Thomas. She clarified, "I would hear that he was coming out publicly and that everyone was in favor of holding a reunion for Home Improvement, but he never asked Jonathan or me to confirm." Richardson says he realized Allen had been fabricating the issue, claiming an agreement that didn't exist, because she allegedly called Thomas and asked him, and he replied that he hadn't been contacted either. When she was unaware that she was being represented as willing, she objected. Richardson has also discussed a persistent annoyance, salary disparity. She revealed that she was asking for the same sum as Tim Allen as Home Improvement progressed. She clarified in a few interviews that her refusal to accept reduced pay was a contributing factor in the show's cancellation, not the 9th season. Richardson claims that although ABC offered her $1 million per episode, they were actually planning to give Allen $2 million per episode for a buyout that was being considered. She asked for par and answer. It wouldn't be done by Disney ABC. That was an escape plan since she knew. She explains that Allen felt abandoned and enraged by her position. In bucking, she felt like the villain. She clarified that it caused friction in their relationship, essentially saying that she felt alone because she had resisted a 9th season. Richardson is certain that she does not want to be involved in any reunion arrangements at this time. She stated on a podcast that she is not a part of any series with Jill, and added that she was never contacted. She also mentioned real obstacles, such as the passing of Earl Hindman, the Wilson actor, several of her co-stars quitting acting, and Taron Noah Smith, Zachary Ty Bryan's legal troubles, and Jonathan Taylor Thomas's reduced acting schedule. It seems that what began as friendly cooperation on the job site has turned into unsolved grievances regarding representation, respect, and credit. Richardson's experience of isolation and deception runs counter to the popular belief that a reunion was beneficial for everyone, which Allen fostered. Her readiness to come forward today offers a rare behind-the-scenes look at a relationship that appeared ideal on TV, but wasn't at all straightforward in reality. Tim Allen versus Casey Wilson. Actress and comedian Casey Wilson publicly criticized Tim Allen's actions while they were working together on the Santa Claus's Disney Plus in 2023. "It was the worst experience I've ever had with a co-star," she said. On her Sesh podcast, Wilson shared this. She explained that she had initially kept quiet about it because one of the producers was a friend of hers and because her children enjoyed the films, but she eventually spoke out about it. One scene was the subject of her most detailed story. Wilson portrays Sarah, who is mistakenly thinking that Santa Allen is a burglar. She thinks he's breaking into the house, so she's supposed to hurl things at him. Wilson relates how Allen approached the producer in that scene to complain that she was stepping on his lines. Just a few feet from Wilson, the producer was taken aback when he related Allen's grievance. The atmosphere became strained after that, according to Wilson. She claims that everyone on the site began to be extremely cautious. According to Wilson, the entire situation grew really uncomfortable because Allen never gave her a glance or spoke to her. She also remembered what happened after Allen finished his portion of the scene. According to Wilson, Allen said, leaving, put down his Santa coat, and rushed off the set without warning after he was done. In order to resume filming, the company substituted him with his stand-in. Wilson explained that the stand-in was a charming man who was more pleasant to work with. According to Wilson's depiction, this kind of conduct caused discomfort for other people on the set. The crew members looked frantic, she said. She thought Allen's departure, which included dropping the velvet Santa cape and leaving without even nodding, was abrupt and uncomfortable to the team. One thing is evident while considering Tim Allen's lengthy trip. He is a man who has experienced both highs and lows in his professional and personal lives, with both positive and negative feedback. Allen has consistently maintained his relevance in Hollywood, from his initial success in Home Improvement to his subsequent triumphs in Last Man Standing and the Toy Story movies. However, it's remarkable how much controversy follows him around. He never fails to spark discussion, whether it is about his comedic approach, his relationships with co-stars, or his candid views. Allen's story is also one of perseverance, though. Despite obstacles and difficult times, he has managed to reinvent himself. He is a voice and face that fans are familiar with from decades of laughter. For opponents, however, he represents the difficulties of striking a balance between comedy, accountability, and personal convictions in a society that is changing quickly. Ultimately, Tim Allen's career encompasses more than just his acting jobs. It concerns how he has maintained his prominence by igniting debate. Whether you like him or not, he is still a force that cannot be ignored. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you like this breakdown and would like to see more celebrity deep explorations. To ensure that you never miss an upload, remember to press the notification bell. Thank you for viewing, and please share your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with some of the criticism that Tim Allen has received, or do you believe that he was misinterpreted? Your opinions would be greatly appreciated. Stay tuned and inquisitive until the next time.